Hi guys, this episode, it was always going to be very difficult for me to do. It's something I wanted to talk about because, it's something I always wanted to know when I was waiting for Dylan's diagnosis. How do I know that my child has autism? What did I notice in Dylan that made me go to the doctor and to go down that route of getting him assessed? I'm going to try my hardest, by the way, to get through this without crying because it just seems to be the most sensitive issue to talk about. Dylan was a very happy, smiley baby. He had eye contact. He was very tactile, loved being kissed and hugged. He had started to say a few words at about 13, 14 months, like mama, dada, all the kind of the usual first words. I think his first word was dada, as per usual, despite my best efforts of trying to say mama. And then we moved to England and we started noticing at around 13, 14 months, a few things, maybe quirks. He was slow to walk. I don't think he walked until he was like 16 or 17 months old. That's it. You're like a little old man. And his eye contact started to go, so I started to call his name, and whereas before he used to look at me, he now wouldn't look at my eyes. He also wouldn't respond to his name, so whereas I'd call his name before, he would look at me, he didn't respond to me anymore. Funny. He also liked repetition a lot.
Are you bouncing?
Up until 2, I put it down to babies don't sleep through the night, right? But you think by 2, they should be sleeping through the night, really, unless there's something wrong or they're not feeling right or something is up. At one point, you might laugh at me, I thought he was possessed. He was in the middle of the night from 1 till 4 a.m. laughing hysterically, jumping, laughing at a wall, or he was crying hysterically. And then came the crying where we would try and hold him and try and comfort him, and then he would start banging his head against the floor. And this was really, really upsetting to us. When we took him to the playground and we put him onto the swing, he would just absolutely have a meltdown. And I'm not talking about a meltdown that, most toddlers have. I'm talking like a meltdown like you've never seen before. I had Dylan when I was 25 years old, so he was my first child. I knew nothing about having a baby. I had no family around me, so it was basically just myself and Andrew and Dylan. So I didn't know what was normal or not normal, so I was looking at other people around. I noticed in the playground when the other kids were on the swings, they would say, "Oh, Johnny, hey," and the baby would go, "Hi." And then Dylan, I'd be saying, "Dylan, hi," and he just wouldn't look at me. No matter how many times I tried to engage with him, he just wasn't interested. Then about 17, 18 months, it started to become really noticeable. There was no words, there was no eye contact, there was not really wanting to be hugged or touched. Complete aversity to food, did not want to eat much at all and didn't like things touching, and he would line up all his toys and line up all the cars, the classic autistic traits. Then he started stimming quite a lot. He was kind of going down the street and flapping and making noise while he did this. I actually thought he was going deaf, and this is what led me to going to the doctor. And when I went to the doctor, I said, "I think he's going deaf." And they said to me, "Oh, no, he's not, he's fine. All children develop differently, don't worry." Anyway, so I went home and again found myself in the doctor's surgery a few weeks later. And I said again, I'm really worried. He's now started doing this. And I thought maybe he's going deaf and blind. I didn't know. So they sent us reluctantly onto the ENT department, and when we went to the appointment, Dylan was so switched on. He knew exactly where the sound was coming from, when it was coming from, because you kind of sit there in this room and they do noises in different areas. He knew it all. So as we left, the pediatric doctor who was observing our session said, do you mind if you come into my office and have a chat to me? And he said, look, I think you need further testing, and we would like to see you next week. So I went in next week and they assessed it. And so they asked me lots of questions. And they said, you know, does he like being in by himself? And he liked locking himself in cupboards. He loved the dark. Just really random things, actually, that now I look back on, wow, they were real telltale signs. Anyway, by the end of a very long and tiring session of 2 hours, they said, look, we are pretty sure that Dylan is on the social spectrum disorder. I had no idea what the social spectrum disorder even was, but the words autism tumbled out of my mouth before I could say anything. This is where I try and keep it together, because even though I knew that something wasn't quite right, and I was almost relieved, I don't know if relieved is the right word, I was pleased that I knew what it was, because not knowing was even worse. I went home and I cried, like, I cried a lot. I cried because I didn't know what it meant. And I didn't know what was coming next. And it was really scary. And all they did was hand me a leaflet, which is, I guess, is why I'm sitting on this couch right now crying to all of you, and which is why I wrote the book, Coming Home to Autism, because I did feel alone and I didn't know what was next. And all I wanted was someone to tell me that it was going to be okay, or to see what an 8-year-old looked like or a 9-year-old looked like. Because as I'm staring at this 2-year-old boy, I'm thinking, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help you. Hello?
Little baby.
I think the thing that got me the most is when I said to the doctor, how do I help my son? He said, there's nothing that can be done. They have autism, that's it. Well, that's not entirely true. Yes, they have autism, but there is lots that can be done. Early intervention is just key to everything. The next day, I got the local leaflets, and we were in Wandsworth at the time, and I went to the community centre there, and they had like a little nursery that was there, a little soft play area that we went to, and I got talking to other parents, and I heard about this school, a specialist nursery setting, and it would be really good to get him in there. So we had to go through a panel. I had to write out everything to try and get him into this specialist nursery. And the specialist nursery was the best thing ever, and that's where I also met Rhian Grounds, who co-authored the book with me. She is a speech therapist, and she was just amazing. She was like, let me tell you, Dylan's gonna be fine, you know? And I think that's the thing. I think I thought that this diagnosis was gonna change my child. In fact, it never changed Dylan.
Quick!
Where?
Quick!
Run!
Coming!
Run!
Run!
Run! Run, Dylan!
I think my family and Andrew's family took a while to catch up. Families don't really understand because they're not living with it like you or I are living with it every day. You know, I found the sleep thing really difficult. You know, no one sees that other than yourself and your partner, or just you if you're doing it on your own, you know, which is also really tough.
Hi, Dylan. Hi, Daddy.
Hi, Dylan. Say hi to Mummy. Turn around.
Oh, swimming. Go!
Actually, gonna put this on the floor. I think another one of the things that really upset me when I found out Dylan had autism was the fact that he pushed himself away from me. He didn't really want me to hug him or kiss him, or he just wanted to be in his own world. This was really important for me to feel connected to him again. I was going to make sure that I got into his world. I figured out as much as I could to help him, because even though the doctors say there's nothing you can do, and no, you can't cure autism because it's not a disease. From that respect, no. but everyone can change and grow. You know, our brains from 0 to 4 are at its most adaptable. A friend of mine recommended me to another friend who was a play therapist. So through play, I would get to bond with Dylan. So we had like one of those blankets we'd lift up in the air, and he'd be lying underneath, and I would tickle him, and I would wait, and when he wanted to be tickled more, he would give me eye contact or give me a sound that he wanted me to tickle him again. And so we developed all these games, which I will also go on and talk about in other videos. You know, kissing him, hugging him, these were really important for me to be able to bond with him. Even if I lay down on the ground while he lay his cars up, I was still there with him. And I remember one really amazing moment. He was lying his cars up and he had his hand like this. And I went on the other side and I copied him. And he looked at me in the eyes. I remember just feeling, oh, like even now it makes me just want to cry, because I was like, he's looking at me. He's understanding what I'm doing here. And it grew from there. So alongside this play therapy, I then looked into to diet. Again, diet does not cure autism, but it can help in ways that can make them feel better about themselves. So Dylan has leaky gut syndrome. I took him off wheat and dairy and gluten, and within 48 hours, he started to respond to his name. His eye contact came back. My journey with Dylan as an individual, it's not going to be the same for everybody, but for us, diet made a massive change to him. He was starting to feel better about himself, so he was able to give a little bit more to me. We also started supplementing him because his diet was so, well, just non-existent. I mean, he would just drink his milk. When he was about 2, he would hardly eat anything at all. I think he would eat like a bit of pasta or something. We then gave him a probiotic, which I used to put into his milk, and gave him a multivitamin to try and give him some nutrients. Again, please talk to your doctor or nutritionist about what supplements to give your child. We went to a pediatric doctor who advised us on what Dylan should take, so that is important to do that. But for us, changing his diet, helping him be a healthier version of him, helped his brain be a bit clearer, and it did subside some of the issues that we had in terms of irritability. I then found a book which is hugely helpful. It is called More Than Words by Fern Sussman. This book is amazing. It was recommended to me by the teachers at Dylan's nursery. It tells you kind of what your child is like. So are they undersensitive or are they oversensitive? And some kids are both. Dylan was a bit of both. Like Dylan doesn't like loud noises, bright lights, but he also is sensory seeking as well. So he does love the deep pressure. So it's great because it's got like a checklist you can go through. So I do highly recommend that book. It is quite expensive, and they do have old and new ones which you can buy if you want to. The other thing I looked at was the early bird courses. If you look on Google, they should tell you where they have early bird courses. They're really good because you get to learn more about autism, what it's about, and you'll meet other local families there also who have children on the spectrum. And it's just so nice, like how I met Ayan and Riaz, and I've got some other lovely friends who also have children on the spectrum. And you know, we see each other and we just go, yeah, we get it. We had a bad night too. And that in itself is just really reassuring. But I just wanted to learn as much as I could learn about autism to be able to help Dylan. And over the next couple of years, through learning all that I could, I kind of threw myself more into nutrition. How I can get him to try new foods was a huge one. Learning all about that really helped me and Dylan bond together. And now he is 9. And why am I getting emotional again? We have such an amazing bond. And you know, I think anyone who says that and I think this misconception is slowly going now, that children on the spectrum aren't emotional and can't have emotional attachments, it's complete BS. I don't even know any other word to say. It's just not true. They think a different way. They still have emotions, they still feel, and they still love. They might not show it sometimes, or at all, but they do. So for us parents, it's really nice to know. I hope this has helped, hearing a little bit about my journey with Dylan. So whether you're at the beginning, the middle, or where I am in your journey, I'm here with you. I'm on this crazy ride that is autism. yeah, and if you need to talk or chat, leave a comment below, email me, and we got this. We can do this. Anyway, I will see you next Sunday, everyone.